actually looking at student blogging to launch global thinking. Now, technology as it is, it doesn't always work, so I'm going to have to run off an iPad. How many of you know what a blog is? All right, so how many of you are actually using blogs? How many are using blogs with your students? Okay, so the hands go down a little bit more.
But if you want to connect your iPad to
the
projector,
you tried that.
I haven't got one.
Yeah.
Thanks anyway.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So WordPress says blog is an abbreviated version of a weblog. It's like a chronicle. But what I'm looking at is we've got traditional writing, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing with traditional writing is that it's for the teacher usually. It might be for a couple of people, and the students may not be that motivated to really push themselves because it's for the teacher. I hand the assignment in and it gets marked and that's it. Then we go to our traditional classroom. Now, I know a lot of you have moved your classroom furniture around, we're sort of moving, but that tradition of 100 years and that industrial paradigm is still there. So how do we actually move our kids from that industrial paradigm through to something that is more global? Now, I love this image, and I use images in my presentation because it's someone sitting on the cliff wondering, so how can I globalise that student experience? What can I do? But to do anything like that, you have to jump off the cliff. It's a calculated risk, but to actually globalise things, that's what you have to do. Now, this image, I hope everyone can see it. This is a very, very personal image, and I'm just going to go into a little story of my own. In 2000, I was travelling for 2 years. I went to Cuba with a bicycle. I strapped my backpack on the back of the bicycle. I had a phrase book. I had 2 words. I knew how to say, could I have una cerveza, por favor? And donde es, where is? And I rode off into Cuba. And they don't speak English in Cuba. Oh, I'll go back there. That image. This image, every morning I was travelling maybe 60 to 80 k's on the bike, and I'd leave very, very early in the morning so that I'd get into the next town and find a homestay to stay for that night. So I was riding out before the sun came up, and this photo was taken. I put the bike on this signpost, and you see the signpost is very, very old. And I took this photo with a dodgy camera and didn't think about it, and then went home 5 or 6 months and actually looked at this photo and thought, wow. Now, to me, this photo was a very big turning point for me, and that turning point was I was in a country where I didn't speak the language. I stayed in a homestay in Cuba. They have these lovely back areas where you can sit. I was able to reflect on my life. There were none of the pressures of normal life, and I really got to understand what it's like on the other side of the world, and that we're so lucky here. So it got me thinking. It's looking at global thinking, and those global thinking, and if you actually look at this, looks very much like the 21st century learning goals that we're looking to implement, and that we don't know what's going to happen in the future for the job market. So we're looking broaden horizons, greater understanding of the world, reflection, creative thinking, and engagement. Now, what's going to enable us to give our students that is technology, and any of you who know me, I'm an absolute tech nut, I love it, and it really opens up so many opportunities in the world to actually connect with other people in real time or via blogs. So the thing about it is, it's interesting to have a look at lower order thinking and higher order thinking. And when we look at writing, we want our kids to break through that barrier and get into higher order thinking. Now, this is Bloom's taxonomy, and we're looking at going from remembering through to creating. Now, the digital taxonomy looks at different areas and programs that we use and that the students use to lift that thinking. And when you look at it, at evaluating, I comment on a blog. I'm evaluating what they've written. then I actually go to creating a blog post and putting it out there. I'm creating. And what we're looking to do is actually change that student experience from them on, say, an iPad, consuming technology and consuming all of these things and becoming a creator and putting something back. So going back, we've got to look at those skills. How do we actually implement that in? And it's, again, jumping off a cliff. My belief is, this is my blog. And I started my blog and I met Jeanette through Twitter, and she helped me get on Twitter and said, look, you really need a blog to identify yourself so that other people can make a choice to choose to follow you or not. And I thought, yep, no problem, I'll put it up there. But what that has become to me is a reflection device. I've shared what I do in my classroom to a global audience, and it's been quite profound for me. But my belief is if you're going to ask your students to do it, you have to do it yourself and realise the potential. So this presentation isn't a how-to for blogging, it's a why. And that's the most powerful thing, is choosing the technology that's going to work. It doesn't matter if it's got lots of bells and whistles. Why are you using it? What do you want your students to get from it? So blogging sites, and most of you already blog. My one's WordPress. I use Edgy Blogs for my student blog. Then we move into how do we actually launch that global thinking, and that's a really, really important thing to do. We're actually looking at greater understanding of the world by just reading blogs, creating blogs. Now I do it, but I want my students to do it too, and I want them to actually see those perspectives. So going back to that experience I had in Cuba, I want my kids to do that. Now, our kids have lower socioeconomics where we teach. So a lot of kids are never going to experience that, but they can experience that via a blog, via technology, and actually linking to other parts of the world, other perspectives. And as a teacher, that opens your perspective, but that's what we want for our students. Looking at reflection now, reflective practice in teaching is really important, but kids have to reflect on where they got to and how they can improve. And if we don't ask those kids to reflect, then they're really going around in a circle of handing in the assignment, marking and going. But it's going to a global audience. So kids care about that more, they'll put more effort. Creative thinking, well, let's face it, there are so many aspects to the internet, videos, and they can mix and a whole range of ideas together, add their own, throw that out there, and it's this beautiful melting pot of people all over the world, students linking together across the world with these ideas. So something that happens on the other side of the world, we get that here, and that is really a rich experience for students. And engagement. We want kids to write deeper, and the blogs, there are so many different ways you can use it. I'm Taz, Food Technology and Hospitality, and the site I'm about to show you, we basically had a Food Miles project where the kids were actually looking at global food sustainability. They were blogging about it, they were looking at a whole range of different issues, choosing those issues, and then coming up with a food product that's low in food miles packaging. That's how I used it. The way you use it in your subject, it's a blank canvas. A great thing about blogs, there's two different ways. This is my class blog, and because of the internet I'm not going to actually open it up. What I have here is a class blog. Now you could just have a class blog, and you could allow your kids to then actually post up their passions or whatever it is. But what I've done is I've actually allowed those kids to actually have their own blog. So I showed them the basics of the blog, how to set it up, how to set your sidebars, you choose what you want to put in there. There's that personal attachment to their blog, and at the end of that cycle of 5 or 6 years in high school, unlink it and away they go, and they keep going. We've got kids that are blogging now about their passions because they had that experience. And this experience that we can give because we've had the experience of blogging, then allowing that for our kids is really, really important. And finally, I think this will be put up on the wiki. I have my blog, there's the Chroma Campus Technology blog. But if you're not blogging with your students, and a lot of you have already had that experience with blogging out to the world, get them on. I found EduBlogs was the best, but it depends on what you want. So thank you very much.